Hello everyone, my name is Sarafi and I'm happy to meet you all. And today we're playing Thunder Dragons, which is a deck that's probably the most banned deck in Duel Links. Even after all the unlimits, I'm still playing 1 limit 1, 2 limit 2s, and 2 limit 3s. It's a very powerful deck. It has a lot of extension, and it uses a lot of the cards that we already have in Duel Links, especially a lot of the free cards. So it deserved its time on the ban list, but now that it's finally off the ban list, it's exciting to get to play it at full power. So let's take a look at some options. The skill is called Destiny Draw. And what it does is, before your normal draw, when your life points have gone down by 2,000, one of the cards from your normal draw this turn will be a card of your choice from your deck. This skill can only be used once per duel. So you'll usually use this to get Chaos Dragon the Pioneer if you have no cards in your hand. If you do have a card in your hand that you don't mind discarding, you'll probably get Melody of the Awakening Dragon, which will get you Pioneer and something else. Maybe you'll get Thunder Dragon Duo. Maybe you'll get Thunder Dragon Dark. You know, the possibilities are endless when you can literally draw any card you want. And with the hand traps in the deck, it's possible for you to allow yourself to drop below 2,000 and then keep your opponent from killing you and move on. So let's take a look at the main deck. Odd Eyes Advanced Dragon. This is a level 8 Dark Dragon monster with 3,000 attack and 2,500 defense. You can tribute summon this card by tributing one level 5 or higher monster. We have plenty of those. You can destroy one monster your opponent controls if this card is tribute summoned, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half that monster's original attack points. When this card destroys a monster by battle, you can special summon one level 5 or higher monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position. So this card can be drawn by Melody of the Awakening Dragon. You could run a third Pioneer in place of this card. I think that this card is actually probably better than a third copy of Pioneer. You can summon 2 Pioneers in the same turn, but that requires a whole lot of setup, and you can't activate Pioneer's effect twice, so really you're only getting either 3,000 extra damage on the field or a rank 8 play by summoning a second Pioneer. Odd Eyes Advanced Dragon does both of those things for you, and rather than taking cards out of your graveyard, it puts an additional card in your graveyard by tributing one of the monsters on your field. So I feel like that is easier to pull off, it's more realistic, and it gets you an additional destruction and some burn, which could kill your opponent. So this is a strong card, and I think you guys will enjoy playing it. Chaos Dragon the Pioneer. Cannot be normal summoned or set, must be first special summoned by banishing 3 light and dark monsters from your graveyard. When summoned this way, you can activate this effect. Apply the following effect based on the attributes of the monsters banished. Also, this card cannot attack for the rest of the turn. If you banished only light monsters, you get to special summon any monster from your graveyard in defense position. If you banished only darks, you get to shuffle one random card from your opponent's hand back into their deck. And if you banish both light and darks, you get to destroy up to 2 cards on the field. Now, this is a non-targeting destruction effect, which means that your opponent cannot know what cards are being destroyed. If they chain a card or they react to a card beforehand, then you just get to choose different targets. If they don't react and wait for you to target, then they lose the opportunity and your cards will be destroyed anyway. So this is a really good effect. It's only up to 2, not 2, so you don't have to pop your own cards if, for example, your opponent only has 1 card that you can destroy, but also you can destroy your own cards if you need to, so it's very flexible. And of course, you don't need to trigger the effect if you don't want to. Just get a 3,000 meter on the field and kill your opponent. And it can go into any one of your rank 8s, or you can link it off. So the fact that it can't attack after it uses the effect is irrelevant. Next up, we have Thunder Dragon Hawk. You can discard this card to special summon one of your Thunder Dragon monsters that is banished or in your graveyard, except Thunder Dragon Hawk. If this card is banished or sent from the field to the graveyard, you can shuffle any number of cards from your hand into the deck and then draw the same number of cards. You can only use 1 Thunder Dragon Hawk effect per turn, and only once that turn. So unlike the other Thunder Dragon monsters in the deck, Thunder Dragon Hawk's field effect is not as good as its discard effect. Yes, a Magical Mallet type effect could be useful, but it locks you out of the other effect, and the other effect is literally just special summon any Thunder Dragon that was banished or in your graveyard. This could choose level 6 monsters on the field for tribute summoning, for link summoning, for Xyz summoning. It can also return a monster that was banished to your graveyard by bringing it out onto the field, and then you send it away, which can give you additional ammunition for cards like Pioneer or Thunder Dragon Duo. Thunder Dragon Hawk's effect is very, very strong, and it's a light monster, which we really need more copies of. So this is probably the best Thunder Dragon monster in the deck, and it will enable all of your plays. Definitely look for this card and use its effect to discard. Next up, we have Thunder Dragondark. Thunder Dragondark was previously limited to 3, along with Melody of the Awakening Dragon and Chaos Dragon the Pioneer, and now finally both Melody and Thunder Dragondark have been unlimited, so we can play the deck for free. Thunder Dragondark's effect is, as a quick effect, you can discard this card to add 1 Thunder Dragondark from your deck to your hand. It has to be specifically a Thunder Dragondark, not a Thunder Dragon monster. This is a great effect if you're going second, because it allows you to instantly get one of your dark monsters in the graveyard, thin your deck a little bit, and also it doesn't cost you anything, because at the start of your turn, you still have a Thunder Dragondark in your hand. So this is a fantastic effect going second. Going first, you're going to have to be a little bit more careful about when you want to use the effect. If you don't see a way to get a Thunder Dragondark on the field, then of course go ahead and use the effect in your hand. But if you get the card on the field, it has another effect, which is if it's banished or sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add 1 Thunder Dragon card from your deck to your hand except Thunder Dragondark. So if you're not going to kill your opponent this turn, you will usually use this to get Thunder Dragon Hawk so that you can special summon and do some Xyz plays or maybe link off. If you are going for lethal, you can use it to get Thunder Dragon Duo and try and kill your opponent that way. So this is a very good effect. This card will often be summoned from your deck off of Thunder Dragonroar to use its field effect, and it's just a good card, and you want to have all 3 copies in your deck and available to you at all times, and it will thin your deck really fast. Next up, we have Effect Veiler. You might notice that there's only 1 trap in the deck. That is because Thunder Dragons tend to rely on hand traps as opposed to back row to try and survive and make plays. Effect Veiler is a light monster, and we want light monsters in our graveyard. So during your opponent's main phase, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, and negate its effects until the end of the turn. If you're going second, you probably want to use this effect even if it's not optimal. Even if you're not able to stop your opponent's plays with Effect Veiler, still getting the card in your graveyard before your turn starts is really good, unless you specifically have Melody of the Awakening Dragon to discard with anyway. You don't have many ways to get this card out of your hand except for the Nightmare cards, and so you want this card in your graveyard so that you can use it as banish material. So burning it on any effect and getting yourself a little bit of extra value before your turn is going to be beneficial to you. Next up, we have Thunder Dragon Duo. This card cannot be normal summoned or set and must first be special summoned by banishing 1 light and 1 dark monster from your graveyard. That's fantastic. That is better than Levianeer's cost, although the card is not as good as Levianeer, but still, you want to get in as many bodies on board as possible. It's also level 8, so you can Xyz it with Levianeer or with Odd Eyes Advanced Dragon to bring out either your Galaxy Eyes cards or your Dingirsu, and if nothing else, you can just link it off, but it's a good card. Once per turn, if a monster effect is activated in the hand, this card gains 300 attack until the end of this turn. That's an important breakpoint. That gives you 3,100 attack points, so you can beat over any 3,000 attack monster that you need to. Blackluster Soldier, Blue Eyes White Dragon, and a few other key cards that are in the meta that have 3,000 attack points, like Levianeer. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can banish 1 card from your graveyard, add 1 Thunder monster from your deck to your hand. That's fantastic. It allows you to trigger one of your banish effects if you haven't already done so this turn. And once per turn, during your opponent's end phase, you can target one of your banished cards and place it on the top or bottom of your deck. Fixing your deck is pretty nice. You do have Destiny Draw for that, but you can only use Destiny Draw once per turn, and maybe you haven't gotten the chance to trigger it because your opponent is playing around it. So Dragon Duo allowing you to draw another copy of your Thunder Dragon Hawk or your Aloof Lupine is going to allow you to guarantee some good plays. Maybe you banished Levianeer to summon Dragon Duo after you linked it off. If that's the case, you could just put Levianeer back on top of your deck and draw it again. That's also a very good effect. So you're going to see this card a lot, and you're going to search it usually off of your Thunder Dragondark, so even only having 1 copy is really nice. You can't search it off Melody, unfortunately, but otherwise it's a very good card. Thunder Dragonroar. This is a dark level 6 Thunder monster. You can discard this card and add to your hand one of your Thunder Dragon cards that was either banished or in your graveyard except Thunder Dragonroar. So this effect is not good. Thunder Dragonroar is the card that we want to discard the least, so that's why we're only running 2 copies of it. The second effect is amazing, but we want to banish it from our deck as opposed to from our hand. So If this card is banished or sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon one Thunder Dragon monster from your deck in defense position, but return it to the hand during the end phase. You can only use one Thunder Dragon Roar effect per turn, and only once that turn. So you can banish this card with your Gold Sarcophagus, or your Aloof Lupine, or your Allure of Darkness. You activate the effect, you special summon Thunder Dragon Hawk from your deck, you special summon Thunder Dragon Roar from your deck, you can link off your Thunder Dragon Roar, and then you immediately get to draw your Thunder Dragon Duo. This card has a whole lot of power while it is in your deck. It is the reason why we play all these cards that banish cards from the deck, and it gives you a lot of advantage as if you had another card in your hand. And that's kind of how Thunder Dragons are able to take such a wide advantage when they go second. Thunder Dragon, this is a light thunder monster, and during your main phase, by discarding this card, you can add up to 2 Thunder Dragons from your deck to your hand. Now, 9 times out of 10, you're going to want to use this effect first, discard 1 card, draw 1 Thunder Dragon, discard that Thunder Dragon to draw the second Thunder Dragon. Usually. Yes, you can draw both copies, and then you have discard fodder for cards like Nightmare Unicorn or Nightmare Phoenix. You can also potentially have discard cards for the Melody of the Awakening Dragon, but more often than not, you're going to want just all copies in graveyard, as many as possible. And you're not going to be able to discard 2 cards in the same turn usually. So instead, just go ahead and discard them both to draw 1 card. That will get you some good value, it'll get you some good options in your hand, and it will also set up your graveyard. It's a great card, and deck thing is important for this deck, which is why we're running 30 cards. Karibo. Karibo is a Dark Fiend monster, and during your opponent's turn, at damage calculation, you can discard this card, and you take no damage from that battle. It's a solid card. It'll make sure that you stay alive, and it's a dark monster, so we can banish it for Levianeer or Dragon Duo. Good option. Battery Man Solar. If this card is a normal special summon, you can send 1 Thunder-type monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if a Thunder-type monster is normal or special summon while this monster is on the field, you can summon a token. So that's an easy link too. It allows you to set up whatever card you need in your graveyard. You can mill, for example, your Thunder Dragon Roar, and then banish that from the graveyard to summon Thunder Dragon Duo, trigger the effect of Thunder Dragon Roar, trigger the effect of Thunder Dragon Duos, trigger the effect of Battery Man Solar to summon a token. You know, in that instance, you probably want to get Thunder Dragon Dark so that you could draw a card instead of trying to clog your board. It would be good if we were playing a 5-card board, but regardless. The effect is fine. Getting a Link 2 is pretty good, and it's a rare, so you probably have at least 1 copy sitting around. It's not as good as Aloof Lupine, which is why we're only playing it at 1, but it's consistent, and if nothing else, it'll bait an effect failure. Aloof Lupine, when this card is normal summon, you can banish 1 monster from your hand and banish 1 monster from your deck with the same type as that monster. If this card is destroyed by battle, or this card in owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can target one of your banished monsters and add it to your hand. You can only use 1 effect of Aloof Lupine per turn. So not only is this a good boy, but it's also better than Battery Man Solar. The problem with Solar is that its effect to mill is an effect, so if it gets negated, you don't get to mill. Whereas Aloof Lupine banishes from hand for cost, then banishes from deck for effect. So even if you effect Veil or Lupine, you still get the hand banish, which is better than just nothing at all. Now, ideally, you're going to banish Dragondark or Dragonroar from your hand and banish the other one from your deck. This will allow you to special summon any monster you want from your deck, while also drawing any Thunder Dragon monster that you want. So that sets up your hand, it sets up your graveyard, it sets up your banish zone, and it allows you to get cards on the field, which you can then link off. So this is an easy link 2 that also allows you to get some good cards in your graveyard, potentially trigger the effect of maybe you summon a Thunder Dragon Hawk from your deck and you link it off, and then you get to, you know, shuffle your hand back if you need to. So good card overall, and it will see a lot of play. Allure of Darkness, draw 2 cards, banish a dark monster from your hand, or if you do not have any in your hand, send your entire hand to the graveyard. We're playing plenty of dark monsters. At worst case, this is kind of like a hand fixture where you trade 2 cards in your hand to get 2 more cards that you might be able to use better. But in most instances, if you banish, for example, your Thunder Dragon Roar or your Thunder Dragon Dark, you get an additional effect off. That makes it less of an even and more of like a +1 where you're getting additional resources. For example, if you banish Thunder Dragon Roar, you've lost the Allure card, you've lost Thunder Dragon Roar from your hand, you drew 2 cards, and then Thunder Dragonroar gets you an additional card from your deck. So you started with 2 cards, you end up with 3 cards. That's pretty nice, so that is a +1. Thunder Dragons are kind of the best deck to make use of Allure, so definitely try this if you've already got this card. Gold Sarcophagus, banish 1 card from your deck face up. During your second standby phase after this card's activation, add that card to your hand. The second effect will typically never go off, but the first effect is really good. You banish Thunder Dragonroar from your deck, and you immediately get to special summon any monster that you want from your deck. If there was a card that said special summon any monster you want from your deck as a spell, you would run it in basically any deck. So why not run it in Thunder Dragons? It's fantastic. And, if the game goes on for 2 turns, you get to add Thunder Dragonroar to your hand. It's an extra benefit. Who cares? Melody, the Awakening Dragon, discard a card to add up to 2 dragon monsters with 3,000 or more attack and 2,500 or less defense from your deck to your hand. You're going to use this to get Advance and Levianeer most times, or if you've already drawn one of those cards, you'll get the other one. Adding both level 8s from your deck to your hand does set up your Dingirsu plays or your Galaxy Eyes plays that will usually get you lethal. It's a pretty good card, and discarding a card from your hand will usually be a benefit to you rather than a cost. So you go even, if not plus, and you get to draw your best cards in the deck, so pretty nice. Lastly, we have Thunder Dragon's 100 Thunders. Target 1 Thunder monster in your graveyard, special summon it, then you can special summon as many monsters with that same name as possible from your graveyard. Those monsters are banished when they leave the field. Also, while they are on the field, you cannot special summon any monsters except Thunder monsters. You can only activate 1 Thunder Dragon's 100 Thunders per turn. So the restriction of this card, where you can't special summon any other monsters while they're on the field, does apply to links. Even if you would link the monsters off, you're not allowed to unless you have a Thunder monster that you can link summon to. So that restriction is a little bit relevant, but this card is basically just to help you survive. We don't have many options for surviving during the opponent's turn. We do have Effect Veiler, we do have Karibo. This is the last card that will make sure that we can actually get through to the next turn. What you're going to do, you discard Thunder Dragondark to add a Thunder Dragondark from your deck to your hand. Then you pass to your opponent with the Thunder Dragon's 100 Thunder set. Their turn starts, you discard Thunder Dragondark, you add another Thunder Dragondark from your deck to your hand. Now you have 2 Thunder Dragondarks in the graveyard, and this is essentially an instant speed Monster Reborn for 2 monsters in defense position. You use this during the battle phase, you make sure that you don't die. Your opponent has already entered the battle phase, they can't use cards to remove the card unless they have a battle effect. So this will usually keep you alive unless they have Piercing, and even if your cards get banished, it's not that big of a deal. For the extra deck, I'm not going to go over these cards because you know all these cards already. They're all meta players. The only card that you might not be all that aware of is Constellar Ptolemy M7. Constellar Ptolemy M7 requires 2 level 6s, and you can detach 1 material from this card to target 1 monster on the field or in either player's graveyard and add it to the hand. So this is a nice effect for Thunder Dragons because if we make it on turn 1, we can just use its effect to add one of our materials back to our hand so that we can kind of set up our hand for next turn. And it's got 2,700 attack points. It's pretty decent to beat over. This card will out monsters that can't be destroyed, like Dingirsu, or it will out monsters that are too big for you to beat over, such as maybe a 4,000 attack points Blue Eyes White Dragon. It will get rid of Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon. It can't get rid of monsters that can't be targeted, like Leo Dancer, but you have Dingirsu for that. So this is a solid card, and you guys will benefit greatly from running it. Okay, let's get into the replay. Blue Eyes. I'm so glad Blue Eyes is back in the meta. It gives me plenty of prey to go after. Alright, so our turn, we start by activating Thunder Dragondark's effect, banish a Thunder Dragondark from our hand to add another Thunder Dragondark from our deck to our hand. Then we normal summon Aloof Lupine, and we will use its effect. We banish our Thunder Dragonroar and our Thunder Dragon Hawk from our deck. We can now activate Thunder Dragonroar's effect. We special summon another Thunder Dragon Hawk from our deck, and then we will activate the Thunder Dragon Hawk's effect in our hand. Discard it to revive our Thunder Dragonroar. Then we can exceed those 2 monsters together to make our Constellar Ptolemy M7. And we use it to detach and add 1 card from our graveyard to our hand, which is going to be one of our Thunder Dragon Hawks. That will allow us to have some good plays for next turn. Then we pass to our opponent. Our opponent is going to immediately Blue Eyes Dimension, send Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon and Blue Eyes White Dragon from hand and deck to graveyard to draw Monster Reborn. Activate Monster Reborn, revive Abyss Dragon. We're going to go ahead and fire off our Thunder Dragondark because we don't have anything else to do. Abyss Dragon, draw Chaos Form. Normal summon Blue Eyes and destroy the Constellar Ptolemy M7. Then we destroy the Aloof Lupine, and Aloof Lupine's effect allows us to get back our last copy of Thunder Dragonhawk. We already have a copy of Thunder Dragonhawk in our hand, but it's better than having it banished. We could use it for materials. Abyss Dragon draws Deep Eyes, so our opponent has 2 traps and Deep Eyes as protection. So we top deck Levianeer like a boss, and we're going to banish our Thunder Dragon Hawk, our Thunder Dragon Roar, and our Thunder Dragon Dark from our graveyard. That is 2 darks and 1 light. Then we can immediately special summon Levianeer, activate its effect to destroy 2 cards on the field, and also trigger our Thunder Dragon Dark and our Thunder Dragon Roar's effects. Our opponent does not respond, and so now I can special summon Thunder Dragon Roar from my deck, and then I get to choose 2 cards on the field and destroy. I will destroy both my opponent's traps. Both of those cards were Compulsory Evacuation Device. So my opponent could have Compulsory Evacuation Device in response to any one of the cards that just went on the chain, but they didn't. And the reason that they didn't is because they were expecting Chaos Dragon Levianeer's effect to pass priority. They were expecting that Chaos Dragon Levianeer would target cards, and then they could respond to the targeting by, chaining one of those cards. This is because my opponent doesn't understand how the game works. My opponent could have, for example, activated Compulsory Evacuation Device and targeted my Levianeer maybe, but if he did that, then I would have just been able to destroy the Blue Eyes and the other Compulse. So that probably still would have been better for him, but regardless, you want to make sure that you respond to Levianeer and to other effects that do not target when they go on the chain, as opposed to waiting, because you're just gonna ruin yourself. We discard our Thunder Dragon Roar to special summon a Thunder Dragon Dark from our graveyard, and we will link both of those off into our Nightmare Phoenix. We need to get rid of that one of their monsters so that they can force out the Deep Eyes. So we discard Nightmare Cerberus. We summon Nightmare Cerberus. We're going to discard our Dragon Hawk to destroy the Abyss Dragon. He activates Deep Eyes. He burns me for 1200, and he has another Blue Eyes in his graveyard, so he's going to get 3000 attack points. We banish 2 to summon our Dragon Duo, and then we will link all 3 of these off into our Borlo Dragon. Alright, now we can activate Borlo Dragon, both of its effects. We lower Deep Eyes' attack points by 500, and then we take his Blue Eyes until the end of his turn, and we use Blue Eyes to destroy his Deep Eyes. It's his turn. He's going to normal summon Sage with Eyes of Blue, add Effect Veiler to hand, and then set 1. Vorlode sends Blue Eyes to the graveyard. It's my turn, and I can Destiny draw because I took 1200 damage. My life points are below 2000. I'm going to draw another copy of Chaos Levianeer, and I'm going to banish my monsters to summon it. Levianeer's effect activates, Dragonroar's effect activates, Dragondark's effect activates. I get to destroy 2 cards on the field. I get to add Thunder Dragon to my hand. I get to tribute one of my Thunder Dragons to summon another Thunder Dragon, and I beat over my opponent for 4000. That is the power of Thunder Dragons. You basically have a lot of the cards in your deck in your hand. You need to make best use of all of the cards in your hand. It's a very skill-intensive deck, but you can easily find 4000 damage, and you can also destroy your opponent's cards multiple times. You can link off into multiple monsters. You can get lots of cards in your graveyard, and use your graveyard as a second resource. My name is Serafi, and I was thrilled to have you all with me.